Hello.
Happy Thursday, everybody. Another Thursday, another episode. Nick, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. And as the countdown timer is going on, I realized I typoed the episode count. This is episode 45, not 55. So we'll update that post-production if anyone's curious on the episode count. But yeah.
Just jumping into the future. Into the future. That's what Nick's doing. He's just so excited. He's jumping into the future.
Yeah. Yes. Where will we be in episode 55 of Cloud Foundry Weekly? Stay tuned and we'll find out then. But yeah.
We're just going to replay this episode over again.
Yes.
It's already appropriately titled and everything.
Yep. All right. Okay. So today, talking about the future, we're covering a relatively newer topic within this AI space. You may have heard about this thing called Model Context Protocol, or MCP, or maybe even the term agentic AI. So we have some special guests from our friends at Tanzu to kind of share and kind of experiment with this newer side of AI and how we can kind of use that within the Cloud Foundry space. So I'm pretty excited to hear more. How about you, Nikki? Are you excited? I'm sure.
I am.
I know this. We did a little pre-show last night. I know this is going to channel your inner Skynet vibes for sure.
Absolutely. And I'm so excited because you're excited. I mean, you didn't even. There's no banter. There's no nothing. It's just like, I want to get into this MCP. Yes. Let's do it.
Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, we can banter if you'd like, but
no. Okay, I want to get into MCP. This is something that I'm going to be learning as we talk about here, and of course, you know my takes on AI. It's going to be fun to get into. And of course, we got two of my favorite people coming in. So absolutely.
All right. Without further ado, let's bring on Corby and Kirti here. Click the buttons.
Corby.
Hello.
Kirti.
Hey there.
Welcome to Cloud Foundry Weekly. Thanks for being with us. Shout out to Ram too, who's watching. And you are both officially new to the CF Weekly podcast friends and family crew, so we have to start out and with our famous question: do you remember your first CF push? And then we'll have to get into the real meat of the content here. But now we got to hear these stories. So whoever wants to go first, let's hear.
Don't jump. All right, Corby, you go first.
All right. Well, unfortunately, my answer is going to be a little bit familiar to y'all. See, my first real CF push was at a pivotal interview in 2014. Actually, it would be late 2014 when I did the interview on there. But I was exposed to Cloud Foundry before then. So it was Chris Richardson, I believe, who was early on involved with the project and was operating. This was not pivotal Cloud Foundry. This was Cloud Foundry offering a hosted environment. We were looking for a hosted environment for our startup app, and he talked to me about what he was doing with there, and I thought it sounded really intriguing. And then in 2014, the chance came to interview with a company that, number one, employed all the Spring engineers, which is just, a huge deal to me. And then number two, had this new pivotal Cloud Foundry platform that I started playing with, and I was very impressed. I've been doing contracting for over a decade in the energy sector here in Houston, working with IT departments that had very slow application development deployment processes with lots of friction. And I did the CF push, and I said, this is how every company should be delivering software. This is amazing. I loved it. Spin it up, did it. Then my first create service, bind service, and I jumped in with both feet. Loved it.
And Corby, this may be the first time on the show, but Corby's a big fan of the show. He's usually on the chat when we're talking. Me and Corby and Nick, we've all kind of geeked out, behind the scenes on a lot of different stuff. So first time with your face on, but what's the old saying? First time caller, long time listener.
Oh, absolutely, yes. Y'all got a great show. Love it. I go back to your archives when I need to research stuff. It's awesome.
That's awesome. Thank you, Kirti. How about you?
Yeah, for me, it was 4 years back when I joined VMware. before that, about 20 years in the development, but I was doing Kubernetes and big Kubernetes background. But coming into this realm and trying Cloud Foundry, and the experience was really great experience, because binding, service binding, and the automation that you can do with this CF push experience. So that was really great. Coming from Kubernetes background, you're writing YAMLs, you're writing wiring yourself, and pretty much writing code yourself as well. But this was more binding and wiring done for you, and you can consume those services out of the box. So that was a great experience.
And I think
I'd love to hear these stories, but yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I mean, it's funny how we get kind of that common thing. I think a lot of people, they forget the power of the platform and having things abstracted and wired in for them. And it seems like a common theme. Everybody sometime, but when people come on, we get the same thing. The first time I did a bind service, that blew my mind. The first time I did a CF push, it blew my mind. The power of platforms, right? Platform as a service. What does it take to make the developer's life easier, get them doing what they're doing with code? And now we've got AI coming in, and AI is blowing up everything, right? So AI is, hey, you've got those people out there saying, we're not even going to need developers in the future. We've got AI to do this. Wrong. 100% wrong. It's a tool. It's another tool. But that's what we're going to be talking about today, right? With MCP, we're going to be getting more in depth in the AI. Who wants to tell us kind of the background of MCP and what it is for those that don't know?
Yeah, I can take a stab at it. And just going back, right? Let's take a step back. And as Nikki, you pointed out, everything is moving so fast in AI world. But if you see, the space is fragmented, right? So there are lots of models. Models are becoming very powerful. They have now capability to reason out, right? And now people are investing more time in inferencing. So this API provided by this model has, many times what we see is they have different implementations for attaching tools, different capabilities that model expose. So for example, there are some embedding models, there are chat GPT kind of a models, OpenAI, text to image models. And so they have different capabilities.
Right.
And plus different frameworks are emerging as well, right? So this space is really getting crowded, where this framework such as Spring AI is providing that framework. Python is also another rich set of tools that are provided is in the form of frameworks. But that's where the concept of protocol comes into picture, where you must have heard about the protocols like SMTP protocol, for example, which is for email and Gmail, Yahoo. They implements this protocol. So what this SMTP did is it standardized the way, right? Another example coming from the Kubernetes background. So you have CNI and CSI, which is container network interfaces and container storage interfaces, which are interfaces which are developed where any storage provider can come in, implement this interface, and standardize it, right? So that's how we standardize that interface for functionality for Kubernetes in the case of container orchestration. So we need a similar thing in the AI space as well, right? So the model context protocol created by Anthropic is kind of bringing in that model agnostic approach, but standardized approach to define this baseline. So basically, you can define the interface that services can implement, right? So AI systems then can interact with these services. So think of it as Gmail, Calendar, Jira. These are SaaS kind of services, right? So these, how does your AI system interact with these kinds of services? So basically, think of it as what MCP lets you do is define interfaces to these services so that you can expose these services as tools, as resources to AI models. And then you standardize the way. So it's magical and very powerful concept, right?
Okay. So, and when we were talking, so, with AI coming up, the fast growth of it, that's kind of where MCP, and please correct me if I'm wrong, came about, because a lot of companies were having to kind of figure out their own methods of bringing in some of the metadata and things that were going into the inferencing models. And so Anthropic came out and they said, hey, we should have a standardization. It's kind of going back to, Cloud Foundry, like the microservices idea. If microservices have this way to communicate, it's a standardized method of communication. We need to have the same thing in AI. And is that kind of where MCP came through? I don't think that this is an actual standard yet, but it's an emerging concept of we need a standard so that we can make these things easier, because with the growth of AI, it's getting very difficult. People are going off doing their own things. We need to talking about standards. Where do you guys see MCP in that standardization realm? I know it's emerging concept. I mean, what are you thinking about that?
Well, it's got so much momentum, Nikki. The spec is 2.5 months old, and there's just been so much community support for it. It's such a latent appetite for it that I have to think that we are moving to a standardization process. So, before last year, I spent a lot of my time writing apps that were kind of self-contained standalone apps for AI, and you do go ahead and send them up, and you get a curated experience, and that's everything you get. But now with the model context protocol method, we have the ability to develop and distribute these specialized components, and those components can be used to set up the I apologize, Nick, am I on the screen right now here? Or?
Nope. We'll go ahead and add you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be great.
There you go.
You have the ability to have these specialized components. So basically, what you have is you have a MCP client that an end user can work with, and then it can communicate to one or more MCP servers, which are these redistributable components that people put out. And under the covers, it's just talking to through JSON over the wire. But basically, what happens is that the components will register themselves with the server. So they'll come online and say, hey, these are the functions that I have available. This is what I can do. And then the MCP client can use an LLM to reason about, hey, I've got a user problem. Which of these MCP servers can handle the problem? And in what sequence should I begin invoking exposed methods on these MCP servers in order to solve the problem? And so what that means is that any end user can kind of create their own AI agent that uses their preferred tooling and just mix and match these components here. And it's proved to be very effective. And, when it was first released, this stuff originates with the data science nerds. So for the first 30 days, it was all Python and TypeScript servers that people were putting out. So it took all of 30 days for the Spring team to say, hey, how do we put this into the hands of enterprise developers, the type of people who are deploying applications on the Cloud Foundry where you're already running your mission critical apps, where they already know how to connect to your enterprise backend systems, and start making that available to the environment. So if y'all want, I can show y'all an example here. Kirti's provided a application that we need to onboard under Cloud Foundry, and I can show an example of how you could use MCP servers to kind of pair with the developer to interact with the Cloud Foundry environment.
Absolutely. We always love demos.
All right, cool.
It's going to get really cool here, Nikki. I'm just warning you.
All right.
So I'm going to, I talked about these MCP clients. What are they? A lot of times they can be the IDE. So there's MCP clients available for Visual Studio and IntelliJ, and that can be great if you're focused on a pure kind of development use case, because then those things can directly access the code. You can have programmatic MCP client. So Spring AI, for example, provides an MCP client library if you want to build an MCP client into your existing application. Anthropic is the company that developed Model Context Protocol. I'm going to go ahead and use their desktop client because it is super fast and easy to use, and works well on a live stream environment like this. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this one up here. And if I look at my Claude, I have installed 2 MCP servers into this environment. One is called Cloud Foundry MCP, and it is used to interact with the Cloud Foundry environment. The other is the JetBrains ones that we're going to use the code base. So this is going to be a simple example with 2 MCP servers so you can see what's going on. But things just get crazier and crazier once you throw more and more tooling into the bucket, because the LLM, the MCP client, can figure out how to bring in the right tool at the right time and be able to do all kinds of crazy things. So this Cloud Foundry MCP server here was built using the Spring AI MCP library. And I will go ahead and put the source for that into the YouTube chat here.
I'm already on
Anybody
it.
can pick it up and run with it if they want to. And I'll go ahead and show you the source code for it here. It is really simple. If you go through it, basically it's just a few lines of configuration, and then all I did was took the CF Java client library that's out there, and I put some front ends to the methods on that library. So it's basically a bunch of natural language descriptions of what the methods are in that library. The LLMs are able to parse these descriptions and use that to reason about when to use these different methods to solve the problem. So you can see here, what we're working with today is about 250 lines of source code and a little bit of configuration, and that's it. And you get some pretty quick results. But this is really good for your Cloud Foundry users to know, because what it does is it allows you to build these things real quick. Everybody watching this call has some backend system they'd probably like to connect to, and Spring makes it super easy just to plug directly into the backend system and immediately get a natural language interface going.
Okay.
So I'm going to go ahead and start here. Kirti gave me this application, Spring Metal, that we're going to want to run into a Cloud Foundry environment. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up my MCP client. So remember, we have the ability to interface with Cloud Foundry and to JetBrains there. And I'll go ahead and start talking to it. I'll say, hey, look, I have a Spring project loaded in my IDE. What can you tell me about it? So it's going to go ahead and select a tool that's going to help solve the problem. And it's going to ask me permission to run the tool, which is great because these tools have a lot of permissions. They can do crazy things. So I'm going to say, yes, I trust this JetBrains tool, this IDE tool, to go ahead and start digging into the source files in my thing. And it's already figured out, hey, there's a problem.xml. That's going to be super useful for finding information about the application, and it's going through invoking more of the IDE methods. It says, hey, look, what we've got is a Spring Boot application, and it's figured out that it has integration with AI. It appears to be set up for a cloud deployment. We have a manifest YAML and a Tanzu YAML with a run configuration. And it tells me, hey, we have these dependencies on needing a PG vector store and an OpenAI integration here. And it tells me, and it has Cloud Foundry support in here in my application. Okay, so that's cool. So I'm super interested in finding out. It looks like I need Postgres, QL, and LM support. Do I have any services in my space that can be used to run this app? So at this point, it's probably going to figure out that it needs to talk to the Cloud Foundry agent in order to help solve this question. So it's going to check my Cloud Foundry space, and it's going to grab these service instances from here. And he says, yeah, I can see several relevant services in your space. We've got PostgreSQL. We have this vector DB. For LLM support, we have these GenAI chats and embeds, the chat service, embedding service, and another here. And it says that we have the OpenAI starter and the PG Vector Store starter. So these services should work well. The Vector DB service can use the PG Vector Store, and you can use any of the GenAI services for LLM functionality. All right, so that looks pretty good. Why don't we say what other apps are running in my space? Let's make sure that we're not all full here. All right, so now it's going to talk to Cloud Foundry again here and say, okay, we've got two applications. We have Open Web UI Demo and Open Web UI. So Open Web UI Demo is something that Kirti put in there, and I'll be super interested in having her show us what that is over here. But it looks like we got enough space in here. So let's go ahead and tell it to build a jar for my app so we can push it to Cloud Foundry here. So it's going to go ahead and at this point talk to the IDE and use that to send a message. So it's sending a Maven clean package command to the IDE to go ahead and create the jar. And now I'm going to want to push this jar file to Cloud Foundry. Excuse me. Grab. It's checking project modules. Great. I can see your main module. Let's see if there's an existing target directory. And it's target directory. Okay. So I think we do have the jar. Okay. So it's just lagging behind here, but we've built the jar file here. Okay. So push the jar file in the target directory to Cloud Foundry, but I'm going to want to bind those services. So I say, but don't start the app yet.
Now, what's the user context that it's using if this is doing a push? Is this using your user context, or is this using a context from within the MCP?
Like the CF credentials, you're saying?
Correct. Right.
So when you check the
so when you register a tool.
Oh, I didn't. It didn't actually. I don't have the target in here, huh? Oh, you probably did. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Please package the jar file.
Yeah, and just to answer Nikki's question, right? While Corby is showing that, yes, when you register that Cloud Foundry tool with this Claude desktop, you gave a context in the form of configuration to this.
Okay, so at that point, so are you doing this like in a Claude project, or is this just a registration that you do with it?
Claude is a client, and this server is registered, right? So basically, that client is registered to a server. So the server has the context, what user I'm talking to. Okay. The configuration.
Yeah. So when I registered those components with Claude, what am I doing?
You're gonna skip tests, I think.
Is it skip tests? Is that the problem here?
Yeah.
Do I have the jar file in here? That's weird. Okay. So I say Maven package skip test. Oh, so yeah. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So it was looking for a test to connect to the database is our problem. Sorry about that. Okay. There we are. So now we have the jar file. My bad. Okay.
We can still have a job.
Absolutely. Okay. The jar file is there now. Push it to Cloud Foundry, but don't start the app yet.
And maybe when this is over, the configuration, well, you're probably going to have some information you don't want to show the world. But when you set up this project, this is where you told it, hey, I'm Corby Page. This is, you're going to act on my behalf. Here is my Cloud Foundry instance that we're going to connect to and look at. That's the purpose of the server. And when you set that up, that was part of the configuration that you did.
That's right. So I pass a configuration to the use the fully qualified path name to the jar file. So when I installed the
you can show it on if you have your GitHub, you show the stanza where you target the MCP.
Yeah, unfortunately I can't because it's got my password in it.
I could pull it up on your GitHub.
Actually.
Yes. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, absolutely. So if I go to the Cloud Foundry server, there's an example in there. So this is it right here. So this is the JSON configuration that we provide for our MCP clients.
Okay.
So this is the Cloud Foundry configuration. It says, hey, run this MCP jar. And then here's where you provide the API host username, password, and stuff like that. And that's the context that the agent is running in here.
And so this is just proxying the commands as yourself.
That's correct. That's right. So using the credentials here that I provided here. So this is for end users. Now, I've also built a version of this that was called CF Pulse, and that was kind of a hosted application. So if you want to kind of broker access to a agent that has more permissions, then you can do that. But under the MCP model, we're actually distributing components to be consumed by individual end users, so they get to bring their own credentials to the table.
Okay.
Yeah, this is just like weird. This is still, I would say, this very much in its infancy. Just think about like a year or two down the road where this technology could be in terms of like, pipeline agents and pipelines and things like that, or just, like wiring this up to a chat bot at the same time. And just like, oh man, just, I think there's so many possibilities with this thing.
And I love here where it jumps the gap from just executing commands like a robot to providing advice and say, hey, it's been pushed to Cloud Foundry, but it remembers I was inquiring about those service instances before. So say, hey, the application stage is ready. I bet what you want to do next is bind services before starting it. So I'll say yes. Let's bind the Postgres service and the AI services here. So we're going in, so it's going to bind the vector DB. That's the Postgres service.
Yeah.
And then it's grabbing the GenAI chat service here.
Yeah, we have pre-provisioned this service.
And then the GenAI embed service. Yeah, absolutely. And it's also bound Gemma 2. Is that going to be a problem? Do we need to unbind that, or are we good there?
Yeah, unbind Gemma 2.
All right. Unbind the Gemma 2 service.
And that's going to lead me into my next question, right? So as part of this, if you're going into a space, you're using this with a lot of different developers, you've got a team in there, you may have multiple services. When you tell it to bind, how does it know which one, right? And I'm guessing in this context, again, this is in its infancy. You've only got a couple services out there, so it's very easy to go in there and see. But if you've got multiple, chat services out there, you got multiple database services, how would you know? I mean, is there a potential that you could bind this to the wrong service through this automatically? How would you?
Sure, but there's a potential for any end user to do that. And what's nice about this is that you can have conversations with it and try and get a little more coaching. If you don't already know what you want, you can say, "Hey, tell me a little bit more about these services." And it can be like that pair there to help provide some advice over there.
Yep. Yeah, I'm definitely seeing this from a platform engineer standpoint. Platform engineers running a lot of different, they got a lot of developers on their space. They've got some problems. They need to go through and start looking at what their developers are doing. We can't talk to all 100, 200, 3,000 developers that are using our platform, but using something like this to get information on the context of the applications, what they're bound to, that could be a huge help.
And that's where you need to bring in our partner, Chris Phillipson. He is addressing that use case. He's been building an MCP agent. You've had him on the show to talk about CF Butler and CF Hoover.
Yep.
Well, yep. He's turned it into live AI. So being able to provide the operator with that interface to be able to synthesize that data and get those kind of insights out of it.
Yeah, well, we're gonna have to bring him back on the show for sure.
Yeah, and Chris is going to beat me up. What was it? It was Watson, wasn't it, that he was working on that we talked about doing the AI portion of this? Was it Watson?
Or Sanford, I think.
Sanford, thank you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So Chris Phillipson, if you're watching, you can beat me up for not remembering that. But there was he was doing some cool stuff with that. And I remember, combining that with what you were showing in Pulse, which, by the way, I think, one of these days, Corby, you're going to have to show that. But, there are a lot of ways out there to help not only experienced developers and platform engineers, but where you're going with this is something to help bring people very quickly up to speed on new platforms that they're using.
Or, I mean, even just think about like a lot of our like end user Cloud Foundry users or, customers of Tanzu, they all typically have some type of like onboarding experience, whether that might be like a Confluence page or some type of like onboarding, because onboarding developers, getting their tool chain set up, so to speak, is maybe something of value. But like think if like this type of thing had all the knowledge of all the internal documents, it could be like, how do I get access to so-and-so foundations, or how do I get access? What's the what's the proper way to buy into LDAP in this organization, or what regulations do I need? Oh, bringing up Zenzian, our friend DMZ. What regulations do I need to follow, or how do I deploy a PCI app to this organization? And then, I think possibilities here are potentially endless for sure. So,
yeah, and Corby is showing here Cloud Desktop, right? That's one of the client, but other is different IDEs provide different clients as well. So, for example, Climb is the VS Code client that I just tried yesterday, and Nick and I and Corby were trying it yesterday as well. So that client, basically in IDE, code generation is another big example, right? That's you can use, and within that IDE as well, you can use the client to connect to these multiple tools and address complex workflows. For example, you're making changes, you're using code generation, writing the code, building the code, and then deploying to Cloud Foundry platform within that same IDE. Look at the productivity increase, right?
Yep.
So these are the complex workflows that you can handle with this standardization.
Quick shout out to Adad.
Yes.
I'm sure you're a long time watcher. I think this is the first time we've seen it in the comments, and even AI can't figure out how to set up LDAP. I think it made me chuckle, but thanks for watching.
Well, to take this even further, I mean, 100%, you look at, that's one of the benefits that we've always touted of Cloud Foundry is you can take your onboarding for your developers, from weeks and months down to days. Well, even you start running something like this, it's not only just helping them with the Cloud Foundry, muscle set that they need to learn, but it's helping them to do it specifically within their environments. What exactly, I want to do something, what exactly is available in my environment to do this? What kind of tiles do I have? And that's not even exploring the platform engineering side of this and the potential that you've got for pipelines.
So we started off this process by using Spring AI to build this kind of developer assistant that we paired with to get our code built and pushed out to Cloud Foundry and get going. But then the app that we delivered is something that Kirti gave us that also uses Spring AI for the end user experience. So I'm going to turn it over to her and let her kind of walk us through how it works with the Gen AI tile.
Okay.
Yeah.
And by the way, you did get Corby. Rom came in and he loves you, dude. Bless you, right? Get some shout outs for what's on your wall there.
And then a shout out to our guest last week, Dan Vega. So thanks for joining as well.
Yeah, and as I put in chat, Corby's everywhere I turn, but that's because I have him as a background on my phone.
Looks like I'm having problems to share, but let's see.
Do you see the present and then share screen button?
Yes. Can you see my screen?
No.
We have to add it, so we don't see it yet in the StreamYard panel.
Yeah, I'm using that, but maybe I should have tried this before.
That's okay. We test everything abroad on this
That's
show.
right. This is why we do things live.
Yeah.
If it always just worked, everybody would think we were perfect, and we all know that's not true.
Yeah. Corby, you may have to share. Your app is up and running.
You're on mute, buddy. I'm going to take you off here. There you go.
Absolutely. You talk and I drive.
Yeah.
All right. So do you want me to start with Spring Metal or Open Web UI here?
Spring Metal. Yeah, so as Corby showed earlier, this application is up and running. We deployed it using Cloud Foundry, the tool that he has built with the MCP protocol. And we deployed it through natural language, right? I mean, just prompt engineering, and this is up and running. So now this application is one of the application that Nick and team has developed, where it's the using RAG scenario, which we talked about earlier as well, where utilizing the concept of retrieval augmented generation and so as you can see here, this is a Spring Metal app written in Spring, and Spring has MCP support, and it has the client also. So this app actually, we are planning to enhance this app as well, adding more of the agentic support as well as Spring MCP support. But currently, the way it is right now, we have developed this MCP support or model context protocol support to deploy this app and manage this app with this model context protocol.
I'm going to break you for 1 second there. So Nick, yeah. Amelia is going to beat you up that you took this from the Swift, the Taylor Swift version to the heavy metal Black Sabbath Metallica version.
Well, yeah, it broke. That version broke, and this one was working.
So, I got you. I'm just warning you. Amelia's probably going to be up in arms when she finds out the Taylor Swift demo got changed over to Metallica.
Just
Black
a quick
Sabbath.
note: I didn't write any code on this app. A lot of other people did, so I don't want to take any credit for any of this.
Oh my goodness. All right, I'm sorry. Sorry to interrupt. We've done the Taylor Swift demo quite a few times when it comes to AI. Me personally, I'm glad to see that we're bringing in Black Sabbath. But
this is more geared to you, Nikki, right?
Yeah, I imagine Amelia's probably going to have a fit when she sees this. All right, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kirti.
Yeah. No problem at all. So so this is a chatbot kind of experience that we are providing, right? So Corby, you can type a query there, and VMware Tanzu album is already added. So this is something that you can add a new album, and then it's going to, use vector database. It's going to do the embedding conversion and put it into vector database, and then you can query that, which is, going to augment LLM capabilities with this vector database and other. So think of the RAG scenario where you have your enterprise data, right? So for example, lots of manuals and other documentation that you can create embeddings, put it in the database, vector databases, and then enhance your application capabilities to query this large set of documents as well. So that is one scenario that we are presenting here. And other app on this Cloud Foundry that I have there, which is Open Web UI. Again, this Python-based app that I have deployed. And if you can show that app, just open Web UI. And what it is doing is Cloud Foundry is a great platform for model selection and model hosting, right? That is we have different models that we have hosted in the platform, and then you can use this Open Web UI to mainly for model selection. That is an important step when you're building the application. Whether my LLM is hallucinating, whether it's behaving right, you have to test that out. And this is a great platform. Now with the DeepSeek, actually you can host this model and have it in your on-prem environment, and then have your governance on top of it, right? Because these are the models that are exposed and approved by my organization. I can use that and try to then select the model based on the experience or the test that I conduct. So this is a great platform to do that. That is what we have done here.
What a great question, Corby. and it gave some good answers. So
Well,
being able to switch your context, or I won't say your context, but your model here. So beyond just, hey, what performs best for the application that we're using, but it lets you test out what you were saying. Are we getting different responses from different models? And if so, why?
Yeah.
So, Nikki, which is the better LLM, Gemma 2 or GPT-4?
Based on the answers that it gave, I'm going to go with GPT-4, right? War Pigs is one of the greatest songs ever created. And we've got Iron Man, of course, everybody knows that. So, I may look cowboy, but I do love some Black Sabbath. Ozzy gets me up in the morning.
I agree. And I like rounding it out with a little Master of Puppets. I think that's gives
right.
a good balance there.
Yep. I can't wait to talk to Amelia.
Always a reminder to test all these different models because they all
right.
behave. And you got to find the model that speaks to you the best, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Being able to know as a developer, hey, these are the models that have been approved for enterprise use by our enterprise. I can tell those of us in Broadcom internally, we've gotten some new restrictions on what models we can and can't use over there. So being able as developers to know that these are approved for use, and that you have immediate self-surface access to these available models saves you a lot of time in terms of provisioning, approval, delivery, getting these apps up and running here.
Yeah. And one more thing I want to point out, we showed RAG scenario earlier, right? And with that, agents is a new thing as well, where that's year of 2025 is going to be year of agents. That's what with the AI advancement and the innovation that is happening. But agent is nothing but blocks of code that have the reasoning capability, right? So they have access to LLM, they have access to long-term memory like RAG, which is vector databases, graph databases, short-term memory for adaptability, and also the task that they are trained on, right? With we saw with the model context protocol demo that particular Cloud Foundry, right? So the task was to get the code and then push it to the Cloud Foundry platform. That was the task, right? That agent performed or the assistant performed. And so this is, then they have access to the integration layer as well, where enterprise application and other workflows are defined, right? So this is the complex scenario that we are trying to handle with the agent. And with RAG, actually, we can have that agentic RAG as well, where let's say retrieval, information retrieval is another big area, right? That can be handled with the agent as well. And this with this agents, the now every time I see microservice or every time I see any data, I feel these are candidates for agents as well, right? Everything can be an agent where we can just improve the workflow. But at the same time, where do you stop? Where do you draw a line, right? So that's the another point that is very important. And also governance and safety, AI safety. Those are the two things that you need to take into account as well.
So pie in the sky dreaming here as we're looking at this, right? So MCP is still relatively new. It's an emerging concept. I mean, where do y'all see this going? What would you like to see? Because there's a question I'm going to ask here in a second, but where would you like to see this going? What do you see as one of the biggest benefits here?
Adib Sekali uses a line that I really like. He talks about how these agents are going to be very important for providing assistance to teams, and that basically your IT engineering department is going to become the HR department for these agents. So as you're going to be able to hire and fire agents based on their safety, their appropriateness for work use in the enterprise. And where I want to see this go is to that it becomes standard that as a developer I can log in each day, have access to these huge catalog of agents, and be able to just start pulling in the ones that are going to supercharge my application, that are going to allow me to deliver new functionality and make things run better.
Yeah, because I'm seeing a concept here. Can we integrate our IDE and with Cursor in with our Cloud Foundry, right? And again, this kind of goes back to I think there's this overblown hype of AI is going to replace developers. It's not. It's going to change the way developers work. But in this modern day and age, when we're seeing everybody's got to do more with less, this is another tool. So if we can make those types of integrations to where we can work with Cursor to get our code working well, or to troubleshoot our code, or to find ways to make it more efficient, and then use the agents like this to help us deploy it in a way, hell, I would even go so far as to come up with testing that maybe we're not thinking of right now based on AI. I think this is going to change development in a big way. It's not going to get rid of developers, but it is going to change the way that they do their work. And I think it will make them more efficient. Now, we did talk about, and this is something I want to go back and ask you guys about. We did go back and talk about, does this give us the ability for like junior developers just to go in and use AI to do their code without understanding the intricacies behind it, right? Is this going to make it to where now we've got developers that can go in and they know how to use AI to create code, but they don't really understand how the code works because, AI is creating it for them and they're just kind of kicking stuff out. What are y'all's thoughts on that?
There will always be people who fantasize about this. I remember being at a startup job in the late 90s, and one of the managers got a look at a low-code drag and drop tool, and he was excited. Couldn't wait to fire every one of his developers and build all the software using this automated tool. But it doesn't. These are not software developers. These are software development tools. The same way that open source did not get rid of developers, it became a tool in a tool set to be able to work at a higher level of abstraction and deliver products faster. What do you think, Kirti?
Yeah, and along the same line, right? I mean, it's funny that my daughter, who is a high schooler, she was asking me the other day, do I need to really learn driving now? Because now we have autonomous driving and self-driving cars. So that's kind of a question. Yes, you need to learn the driving, right? So same analogy here. Even though code is generated, we need to understand nitty-gritty details about what it is doing, and ultimately human who is controlling the the entire workflow, and also the how application can be more performant and whatnot. So that is really important. So human is in the loop always, and we need to understand. Also, another thing with the code generation is, companies, they have to declare the code is generated by ChatGPT or it is generated by them. So that's kind of another piece as well with safety and governance. So yeah, that's what my take is.
Yep.
Quick shout out to Findsy. We're talking about maybe looking at a future platform where can't even imagine without having some of these agentic AI capabilities. And then he's weighing in on the developer question as well about, I think it's definitely a product of tooling where we'll just do more with what we have.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess on this topic too of just general AI, and I'll do a recommendation for the show. I know Kote's software defined talk, they like to do recommendations, but if you haven't listened to the AI Daily Brief, it's a great way to keep up on all the AI news happening because every day it seems like there's a new topic. So if you want to just generally learn about AI stuff, that's a great just general podcast to just to keep that drip feed going, because it's definitely hard to stay up to date on all these things because everything's moving so quickly.
Yep. I mean, I'm excited. I think, there's a lot of possibilities out there. I see, coming from a platform engineering background, I see a lot of potential out there for proactively going and looking for issues in my platform, within my environment, using AI to go in and really kind of source the data and look for things that may not be, available to us and provide out these reports. Something I wish we would have had. I know, Nick, you probably wished you'd have had it when you were an engineer.
Well, one thing I wanted to try, and now on the side, I was trying to hook this up to one of my environments, but I'm having some type of cert issue still, and I'm not quite able to show that. But if I think of what's the number one question platform engineers get engaged on, and it's, can you have the agent read the developer's logs for them? Right.
Yep.
What's wrong with my app? I don't know. Look at this stack trace that says your database blew up or something. So I don't know if that Claude desktop will read logs or do a CF logs, and can you figure out why my app's crashing or something? That would be pretty cool to see down the road.
My app's broken. It's a problem with your platform. Did you read your logs? Well,
Yeah.
no, it just stopped working. It works on my desktop, right? So
if I get working on my machine, I'm gonna try to see if I can make apps sick on purpose, and then see if it can remediate said problem, right, or something like that. That I think would be a cool thing to show.
let me know, Nick. I am not a developer, but I can break anything. I guarantee you I can find a way to break anything and everything out there. So
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't know if I need it that broken, if you know what I'm saying.
Well, then maybe you want to keep me away from it.
Yeah.
This is all very interesting, guys. I love the way that AI is going. I mean, it's, I've cautioned this a lot in some of the earlier episodes. Everything is getting AI right now. I question whether it's needed in some of the places. If you look at some of the AI that we're seeing with people just wanting to be able to check the box, be responsible with your AI. Make sure that you're using it in a place that actually helps developers. But man, the potential for this is just, it's mind-blowing where this could go and how much easier this could make our lives. And we have to weigh that with questions like I asked, right? Are we going to see a group of developers coming out that use AI but don't understand their code? To Kirti's point, no, you've always got to have somebody out there. But it's an exciting time to be in the industry. We're witnessing another renaissance coming through right now with AI.
I guess another plug. So we have this thing, we're talking the Cloud Foundry ecosystem. We have Cloud Foundry Day North America coming up. It's going to be hosted in the Broadcom Palo Alto offices. So if you're interested, you should sign up. You should submit papers. Corby and Kirti, I think we have a CFP proposal right here. So maybe you should submit a paper to talk at Cloud Foundry Day. I don't know, just saying. That would be cool. So yeah, if you're interested, check it out. I should post the link. I'll find the link in here in a second. Don't forget about that. And I think it's gonna be a pretty cool year for sure.
Yeah, Corby, I've seen Pulse. I don't know what you've done with it since I've left, but I've seen Pulse. Great CFP topic right there. And Kirti, your ability to kind of come in and explain how all this stuff's working. Yeah, I think you'd get a lot of people excited about this. Are they going to let me in, Nick? Are we going to be able to do a podcast?
Of course.
From CF Days.
You didn't. You left us, man. So I know.
I know.
Want you back.
I know.
You're even welcome. Yeah, we need to submit our own CFP. Amelia already reminded me too, by the way. So yeah. So yes, everyone submit CFPs. May 14th, 2025, Palo Alto, California, Cloud Foundry Day, North America. Put the link in there.
Never been there. It is a great place to meet everybody that's in the ecosystem to really talk about. There's some neat things coming through. There's still a lot of interest out there. It's a great networking place. And hopefully we'll get to see Corby and Kirti do a more expansive demo of what we can do with agentic AI inside Cloud Foundry.
Sure.
Sounds great.
Awesome.
All right. Well, we're coming up on the hour. Do you have any kind of final thoughts or anything you want to leave our listeners with? Or anything you want to see from us, I guess, coming forward? You kind of already gave a suggestion to bring Chris Phillips in.
That's right. Definitely. Bring it in from more the operator side and talk and see what's going on with the AI. But I do find, I do find that AI is enormously useful for interacting with well-defined systems. So as a developer, I have actually found it invaluable in terms of accelerating my ability to write code. And then you have a system like Cloud Foundry or a programming framework like Spring. And LLMs are very, very good at understanding how to interact with them because there's so much data out there about that and such a well-defined specification. So these tools, I think, can bring a lot of value into the users. And then what the Spring team has delivered to make it so easy to start plugging in your existing backend systems. Cloud Foundry is kind of our backend system because that's the product that we develop and deliver here. So plug into that, but you can also plug into your own backend systems and supercharge your applications as well.
A huge shout out to Spring. These guys are turning out features as fast as things are being introduced to the market. So huge shout out to all the Spring team and what they're doing there. There's a reason this is such a growing framework, and it's because they make things so easy. So, Kirti, any last thoughts from you?
No, this is all exciting, great space to be in, and there will be a lot of innovations, a lot of advancement in the AI space. Responsible AI is important, like you pointed out, Tiki. But at the same time, a lot of opportunities, right? So for me personally, Spring AI, this is an experimental project, model context protocol and what we have in the Spring. But this, I want to contribute, right? So just contributing more and more agents and tools, and where we find pain points, we want, and wherever automation is needed, right? Those are the great opportunities to have this. So yeah, I would be, planning to contribute more actually and learn more. So
it's a great segue. Good reminder. Community is what makes software go round. So make sure that you are taking a look at this. Some of the best features that we see coming out in some of the products come from the community. So you want to get involved. You want to take a look at what you can do. If you don't like Black Sabbath, maybe jump on and take a look at, what they were doing there and see if you can improve upon it. Community is all what makes this go round. So
yeah, and honestly, Nikki, too, I know you're working at a new place, but I could see some of this type of stuff we're doing here kind of really kind of play into your new gig. So it'd be cool to see if we can cross the communities,
absolutely
streams,
there will be some crossing streams going on. We're already talking with Deshaun about some stuff on that side. We're talking with JetBrains about how to make that development experience a little bit better on Coder, right? So like I said, Java and Spring, it's the fastest growing out there. A lot of people are using it. When we start seeing things like Spring AI come into where you can just change your model on a whim, that just helps grow the community, and it just makes the increases the stickiness of that framework. So excited to see all of this stuff.
Awesome. Well, okay. I mean, I think we're pretty much out at time. So for all you watching, thanks for the live stream. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We don't have Dan's Vega's awesome subscribe button YouTube channel icon or panel to use here, but you should subscribe to our channel. You'll get notifications when we go live next. You can check out all of our past episodes, cloudfounderweekly.com. If you want to listen to us in podcast format, we're there as well. So keep an eye out. We have a lot of great episodes planned for this year, and thanks for watching. So
All
we'll
right.
close, and now I guess this is another test. Do you know how we ended the show, Corby and Kirti? Have you
I know
guys
Corby
made it all the way?
does.
Do we know how we go to the? Have you made it to the end? Right.
CF push baby.
All right, so now we know Corby. He always shows up. He throws his name out there, and then he leaves before the end of the show. Oh, Corby.
So we end with a CF bye.
Yep.
So we'll do a 3, 2, 1 CF bye, and then we'll be done. All right.
All right.
So 3, 2, 1 CF
CF
bye.
Bye.